ChampsTalk, als je knokken niet meer krijgt uit je kop. ChampsTalk, ouwe hoeren zonder rem op de klok. ChampsTalk, voor mijn strijders en mijn vechters pas zinnen. Ga lekker zitten en laten we beginnen met de ChampsTalk.
9th of September, the return of Badr to kickboxing, headlining in France, Paris. I don't know about you guys. I think I've been to Paris once in my life, maybe when I was 12. I am certainly thinking about going back there, okay? To the Dome of Paris. I don't know if I said that right. Paris, yeah, with the R. Make sure to keep this one in your mind, guys. We've got a banging card. James McSweeney, former current training partner, I should say. Well, I don't know, it's a bit in the air. Is Alistair still training? Is he not? But training partner of Alistair Overeem, UFC veteran, is going to be fighting against Badr. Very interesting after Collision 4. For my fellow countrymen in the UK, it's a humble Eurostar. I guess also here from the Netherlands as well. You can just jump on a train, get a coach. But Paris. All right, guys. What have we got? Why should you care? What is really interesting is I think that Glory is still expanding. It's showing off the talent in France. France has a rich history in kickboxing, guys. Let's not forget that. One of the most exciting K1 fighters, Jerome Labana, who would steamroll through people, is from there. Garrick Belay, the current lightweight, fifth ranked, if I'm not wrong. Very exciting guy. Cedric Doumbé, Joe Rogan's favorite Glory kickboxer, and now is in the PFL. Maybe he'll be there. I mean, it's got a long history of Muay Thai guys. I could be wrong, but there was a talk of once upon a time Cyril maybe fighting some of the Glory guys. So Cyril getting the UFC heavyweight. So there's a lot of storylines here. There's a lot of kickboxing in France. A great place to go. There's a championship rematch on the line. There's Tiffany van Soest, the other time bomb, the original time bomb maybe in Glory. And she is just, I'm going to break down, focus a little bit on her fight with Sarah Moussaddak, who is, I believe, from France, right? So representing her country and representing the flag. Also from Morocco, of course, but fighting in-house. We've got Noordin Mahedin. Let me tell you, man, this guy was probably one of my favorite kickboxers in recent times. When we're going to get into the details of the whole background to this event, but I just want to say Badr Hari's impact has introduced a lot of people to a lot of fighters. He's got that Conor McGregor effect about him, right? So you may have watched a UFC card back in the day with Conor headlining, and then you learn about, for example, Wonder Boy and Tyron Woodley. You learn about these other fighters that maybe didn't get the spotlight, but now then they've grown on to be bigger stars, grown on. So in the same way, Noordin Mahedin, I think I came across him in Glory 76. Badr was headlining against Benjamin Adegbuyi, and it was a heavyweight tournament situation, right? So you had like Antonio Plazabat, Noordin Mahedin, Levi Richters. There was another gentleman as well. I think I would have to remember his name. But they had this multiple fights in the night, and Noordin was body shots, low kicks, uppercuts, just pure, pure fire. And he was fighting against Plazabat. They had a really good second fight, I think, in that tournament. And then he went on to fight Levi. So he's fighting against his fellow countryman, Koulibaly. Apologies if I didn't pronounce that correct. Another giant in that division. So another also from France. So it's good to see the local people representing for the kickboxing scene. So let's get into the whole background for Tiffany and Sarah Moussaddak's rematch. They first fought on Collision 4. You guessed it, Badr headlined that one. So there's a common factor here. October the 4th, 2022, I was lucky enough to be there. And the one thing I want to mention just from the get-go, before we even get into the fight itself, is the walkouts, right? The crowd was on its feet. Everyone had their phones up with the lights on. You just hear consistently, just everyone, Badr. The same for Sarah. So Sarah was getting a big, loads of love from the fans, loads of Moroccan fans. It was a great atmosphere in the crowd. She came out to a really cool song as well. I think it was called Mon Bled. It's I think it's a French, Moroccan song, Arabic song, I'm not sure, but it's hella catchy. I also Shazam that one. So yeah, she came out, she fought Tiffany. I mean, what is there that I could really say about Tiffany apart from she's a wizard, absolute wizard. She's like Dominic Cruz in her division. If you know Dominic Cruz, the UFC fighter, she's moving constantly, side to side, insane, quick kick setups. It's just a pleasure to watch her footwork. I wish I could move like that. She fought Sarah Moussaddak for 5 rounds. The first 2 rounds, it was, you know, this idea that Tiffany's movement was just hard to keep up with. That's the way it looked. I think by round 3 or 4, Sarah started to get a bit more into her own, get into the clinch, throw some nice knees. And so it was Tiffany took it, but people did have some contentions about it. But I think Tiffany handled herself really, really nicely that night as well. Despite a slightly pro Sarah crowd, she really just owned the moment, owned the fight, and she's marched on ever since. And so this will be a rematch to see really who is going to come out on top between the two in that regard. Yeah, and in that same night, we had Badr versus Alistair. How did I forget? And coming back to walkouts, we have the general in the background who actually helped produce that song. Let me tell you, before I even knew who Badr Hari was as a kickboxer, I had people who didn't really know about the sport playing me that song. Badr Hari is a bad boy. So make sure that you check that one out on YouTube, because it's any highlight reel that you see, it's the one that's going to come up, and you see him there, you know, in the red hood, just, you know, looking. It's like there's a picture of him looking out into the crowd, and it's like a city of lights. Like there's just lights everywhere, and it's such a great atmosphere. And you get nervous as well, right? Because you don't know what's about to happen. Then you have Alistair coming out, you know, just looking like the juggernaut. He had a really nice walkout as well. I don't remember the song, but he came out and he just, it just reminded, you know, of the old K1 days, where I think he used to come out with a hammer. Alistair would walk out with like a hammer back in the day, or maybe it was in Dream or Strikeforce. God, I don't remember, I'd have to look it up. But it was electric walkouts all around. And so the whole point with this is that, you know, Badr had Alistair as a training partner of James McSweeney, who Badr is going to face now, right? So kind of like the way I looked at it was that Alistair and James McSweeney have similar fighting styles, okay? And Badr had actually, in the previous event, in Collision 3, he'd commentated James McSweeney versus Gokhan Saki. So I believe that Alistair was actually even in his corner at the time, right? So you see Badr is, you know, in the commentator's chair, trying to be objective, I'm sure. And he's obviously excited about Gokhan landing consistent low kicks on James McSweeney. But James McSweeney was having an interesting entry. He was kind of like diving inside, throwing some uppercuts, but it wasn't his night. But he showed a nice account of him, showed heart. And Badr was consistently, you know, suggesting from the commentating booth that, okay, maybe he should target the leg, maybe he should do da. Then the following event, so Collision 4 now comes around, and you have Alistair, James's training partner, and now he's come against Badr. And the first 2 rounds, I think, and maybe it's contentious, but I think that Badr was really in his own. Maybe that was glimpses of the old Badr that we've come to know and love. Like he's setting up the long shots, he's throwing the low kicks and moving to the side. He seemed maybe not as quick as the old Badr, but really, really technical. It was a real pleasure to watch. One punch towards the end of the round, maybe because of that awkward MMA peekaboos type of style, changed that. Then the third round was arguably Alistair's, of course it was Alistair's, but yeah, I don't see any real, it looked like business as usual for Badr, right? And then you had the 3 kings moment, as we'd like to call it, where Badr, Rico and Alistair are standing in the ring, and first of all there's some fireworks because Alistair's all like, yeah, you know, we'll fight you, Rico, da. But Badr's like, listen guys, calm down, bit of respect for I think is what he said. So just give me a moment. And then it sounded, and I think everyone got a bit concerned that maybe he's going to hang his gloves up, but he says, I'm thinking about it. right? And I think that we saw really the start of the evolution of Badr Hari. I mean, he's been evolving for a long time, but really in a new chapter, in a new way. So you've got the House of Glory, where he's one of the captains, he's one of the coaches against Rico. And you can see in the Videoland trailer, I mean, I've only seen a minute of that content, but you can see Badr is really coming into his own as a father figure, as an older role model in the sport. He seems to be giving this young guy some advice. You know, you're either made for this or you aren't. Even there's an interesting clip, I don't know if anyone else has seen it, of Rico giving one of his fighters a little bit of a love slap, you know, to wake up. And we haven't seen that side of Rico. So I'm excited for this House of Glory stuff. I think it's going to be like, you know, a very interesting series to keep in touch with. But yeah, I mean, so all of this to say that the upcoming main title fight between Alistair and James McSweeney has this history behind it, that Badr's analysed him from the background. James has trained very closely with Alistair, so maybe he's got some tips on how to handle him. Will he use the same MMA style to get up close and personal with Badr? And I think we should take a second to really give James some of his dues. I was just kind of like looking up some of his accolades, and this guy's fought Matt Mitrione. He's fought against Mark Hunt, if I believe. In one, there's a knockout where he knocks a guy out in like 20 seconds or something like that. He's fought former Glory contenders even prior to coming to the organization. So Daniel Ilunga, Ilunga, if I pronounce it correctly, he was fighting him in an organization, and a really explosive fight. What James does really interestingly is he kind of switches his stance and he throws a hook. He'll kind of come into you and then throw like a check hook or something or the other, and then have like a high kick that comes out of nowhere. And you saw Alistair do something similar against Badr in their fight, although it didn't land, I think. So yeah, it should be a really exciting fight. I think Badr is also, what was super interesting is he also said that this is one last run at the heavyweight title tournament. So it does seem like he's taking this seriously. It really should be fireworks between these two gentlemen. Yeah, I mean, what to say about the rest of the card? Pretty much the common factor is the fact that Badr has been present at a lot of the mainline, a lot of the main events of the fighters that now you see underlining this card. So for example, Karim Gaji, French kickboxing royalty, he's fighting on that card. I know of him because I watched him fight Cedric Doumbé. Cedric Doumbé was, just a flame of a kickboxer in the welterweight division, and he fought Karim Gaji. He fought a reasonably well fight for a week's notice against Doumbé, but Doumbé was on demon mode that time, and it got him out of there in the second. But Gaji is a real pleasure to watch. He does a lot of breakdancing, I think. So you see a lot of slips and weaves, and he's got really nice movement. So I'm excited to see how he does. I think I've mentioned Noordin earlier, and his opponent Koulibaly. Birjan Paposhi is going to be on there. This guy is I believe, an Albanian prospect. He's had 2 fights or 1 fight before, I believe, in Glory. And one of them against Amachik Musa was a fight of the year. So we've spoken about this before. The featherweights throw volume. They throw volume, they throw with aggression, and there's just loads of flurries and I don't know, what's the French word for melees? Loads of melees, yeah? Keeping it in line with the Paris theme. But yeah, guys, I think this is going to be a great card. I think you should definitely check it out. There's new up-and-coming prospects, wild cards that I don't know much about, so I'm excited to see how that goes with them, and what implications this has for the ongoing heavyweight title tournament. And yeah, just where Badr goes from here, where James goes from here. I think the key story also that no one is really talking about is what's going on with Alistair. Everyone's seen the picture of him, you know, first looking like the Hulk and then looking like he's, look at a much different man. And it's good to know that his health is well. There was, maybe Badr feels differently because there was some controversy about the decision in the end. Who knows, maybe someone ate a bad burger or something like that. I have no idea. But in any case, I believe that Alistair's now done from the sport, or at least that's what it seems to be the case. And success to him in the next phase of his life. But yeah, let's see how that goes now for the heavyweight division. Till next time, guys, like, share and subscribe. ChampsTalk, we're out, and we'll see you in Paris. Oes!
ChampsTalk, als je knokken niet meer krijgt uit je kop. ChampsTalk, ouwe hoeren zonder rem op de klok. ChampsTalk, voor mijn strijders en mijn vechters pas zinnen. Ga lekker zitten en laten we beginnen met de ChampsTalk.